Thank you so much. Thank you to the Teach-In Network and to all of the participants who showed up to listen, and especially to all of the amazing panelists who are friends and experts who I continue to learn from all the time. Over the past 14 months, JVP has remained very public with our actions calling for a ceasefire and arms embargo on Israel, beginning on October 18th, 2023, helping to organize the largest ever Jewish demonstration in support of Palestinians, attended by approximately 5,000 people in Washington, D.C., followed by over 400 of us being arrested, singing and chanting "Ceasefire Now" and "Free Palestine" in the rotunda of the Cannon House office building during a sit-in led by JVP rabbis. 2 weeks later, at another sit-in, as thousands of people chanted, 500 supporters participated in a civil disobedience action, with 350 being arrested, including rabbis, elected officials, elders, and celebrities, this time shutting down all train lines and entrances at Grand Central Station in the largest act of civil disobedience in New York City since the Iraq War. This action included Mourn the Dead and Fight for the Living and Ceasefire Now projections onto surrounding buildings. 1 month into Israel's genocidal war, when over 10,000 Palestinians had already been killed, among them over 4,000 children, JVP New York City led hundreds more Jews and allies in occupying Liberty Island, surrounding the Statue of Liberty, young people and elders, rabbis, descendants of Holocaust survivors, and elected officials singing "Ceasefire Now" and carrying banners that read, "The world is watching. Palestinians should be free and never again for anyone." Just a week later, over 1,000 protesters shut down Chicago's Ogilvy Transportation Center in downtown Chicago to demand a ceasefire. And a few days after that, on November 15th, hundreds of Angelenos joined JVPLA and allies, shutting down the intersection of Hollywood and Highland, an iconic location in the film capital of the world, for several hours on a rare, dark, rainy day in Los Angeles. And for months, actions like these took place across the country. And as we approach another calendar year fighting this horrific genocide, I'll be honest, the exhaustion, disgust, and frustration so many are feeling is real. But with a genocide raging on, we have to as well. So at JVP Action, our strategy remains to demand and force a shift in US government policy. Our government is the main enabler of Israeli impunity, allowing the continuation of this genocide and making US policy an urgent target for our movement. We're clear-eyed that the US government will be the last domino to fall. Nonetheless, we are seeing cracks in the consensus. A year of endless horrors and mass protest has changed many people's minds about US support for Israel. Polling now shows that 77% of Democratic voters don't want to send more weapons to Israel. Neither does 62% of independents and 61% of everybody polled. The Joint Resolutions of Disapproval, or JRDs, for Israeli arms sales introduced recently in the Senate by Bernie Sanders was a unique and immediate opportunity to push the demand to stop arming Israel and to get media attention for our demands. And JVP Action went all out to support the JRDs, along with many allies, from the introduction of the resolutions to the votes and beyond. The movement goal was to get 15 to 25 senators to vote yes on blocking those weapons shipments to Israel. So in the end, getting 19 senators who voted yes was absolutely an organizing win for our movement. Too little and far too late. And sickening that the Senate majority still rejected such an absolute bare minimum that was being asked for in these bills nearly 14 months into this US-backed genocide. Nonetheless, getting 19 senators to openly break with and directly oppose a weapons shipment that Biden, their party leader, lobbied hard for, along with AIPAC, who spent considerable funds on ad campaigns, and groups like Democratic Majority for Israel, the Jewish Democratic Council of America, and the Federation, who were all working hard to push through this legislation or to push through the arms sales, is positive change for the movement, as is the labor movement joining the movement, to liberate Palestinians, which creates even more momentum. Labor is a key constituency that the Democratic Party depends on for votes, for financial contributions, and for volunteerism. In October of 2023, younger union members and many Arab American labor activists in Dearborn, Michigan, began to pressure their unions to take a stand for peace and to demand action from the president. Brandon Mansilla, a regional director with United Automobile Workers and a supporter of the peace movement, said that by early November, large numbers of UAW members were attending movement demonstrations for ceasefire, wearing their UAW hats and jackets and openly expressing their wishes to see their union take a stand. And last December, the UAW leaders listened, making UAW the nation's largest union to back an immediate ceasefire. As that was happening, the Biden administration was faced with another major rebuke of its policies. In February, more than 100,000 voters in Michigan cast uncommitted votes in the primary election, in the first of many similar ballot protests in the 2024 primaries. We know that moving into 2025, we need to continue building financial pressure on the genocide economy. Across the country, students and people of conscience continue pushing their institutions to divest from the Israeli genocide and US war economy. Yet as the US government's military aid to Israel continues to funnel billions of dollars right back to weapons manufacturers in the US, the apartheid and genocide economy of the Israeli regime is actually tanking. This is another opportunity for our movement, and it makes it all the more critical for us to escalate our ongoing strategy of boycott and divestment campaigns. JVP's campaign to divest from Israel bonds, which are direct investments in the Israeli government, is one example of how we can capitalize on the faltering Israeli economy and cut off the flow of funds to Israel's apartheid regime. Financial pressure works both by materially weakening institutions complicit in genocide, and also by demonstrating the growing international opposition to Israel's oppression of Palestinians. Over the past year, as we've been organizing and executing strategic mobilizations towards ending this genocide, our institutions have made it very clear how resistant they are to democratic pressure. But we have had some smaller wins across the country, passing ceasefire and divestment resolutions, which teach us important lessons about how we can effectively mobilize moving forward. We need to continue to create material impact within specific campaigns. And in that context, we're most likely to make impact through mobilizations that escalate pressure on existing targets, whether they are politicians, institutions invested in the Israeli government and the US war economy, or other key pressure points. Escalating effectively requires us bringing in and mobilizing new constituencies that matter to decision makers and demonstrate the growing mass demand to stop arming Israel. And we also have to continue to shift the narrative in ways that expose what's really happening. The US continues sending bombs to the Israeli military to benefit its own financial and imperial interests, not because they're interested in Jewish safety. Actions that intervene in the mainstream narratives build crucial pressure on elected decision makers. So our fight continues, and it's never been more important for our movement to work on multiple levels, targeting key political and financial pressure points, and to advance our demand for an arms embargo. Both the outgoing and incoming administrations have made it clear that they intend to continue the current policies of arming and diplomatically enabling Israel's genocide. So our job is to channel our devastation and rage by everything we've seen over these past 14 months into recommitting to the movement for Palestinian liberation. Thank you.